This is JT, and we have another conversation airing today with Larry Spider-Man McBride. I got to hang out with Larry on April 26, 2021, and it was after I'd finished the first XDA race of the season at Maryland International Raceway. Got some rest Sunday night, took off Monday morning, went by Larry's shop, we hung out for the day. And what was really cool is when I got there, Willie Nichols was there, and so was Greg Pollard of Vantine Nitro-Sports. And we were looking at the new build that's underway for Vantine, and that's not what this conversation is about today, but it is a gorgeous machine. They are really far along, but it's clearly going to be a bit before we see it competing. Anybody that's seen these machines understands there's a lot going on. So they got a lot of work, but they're all up to the task. They work together and they're going to get it done. Now when we hung out, we BS for the day, went and had lunch, come back, and then we sat down. Then I asked Greg if he would join in with us, and he agreed. So not only do we have Larry Spider-Man McBride, but we also got Greg Pollard. These two men are just absolutely machines in this sport. They've been around a while. They have massive amounts of experience and information, and this is just one conversation. So I could sit with these guys all day long. So this is one conversation we had, and I'm looking forward to more of them from both Larry and Greg as the 2021 season moves on. And they both agreed to come back and do it, and I was blessed to be able to hang out with them for the day. And so, without further ado, this segment is brought to you by Schnitz Racing and dragbike.com. They make it possible for me to get to these events and get the coverage and be able to support everybody. And I greatly appreciate their support in 2021. So, let's grab a drink. Let's grab a snack. Let's talk with Larry and Greg. Here we go. You're keeping up. Alright, this is JT. Try and keep up. I am hanging out at Cycle Specialist with Larry McBride. For some weird reason, we have somebody else here with us.
I know we got Greg Pollard here. I don't know what we got him here for, but he showed up.
I showed up just to get some motors on my way through.
I'm Canadian.
Passing through.
Oh yeah, well, we ain't figured out how you got out of Canadian yet.
Yeah, they let me cross that border. Sure, but here I am.
Oh God, glad to have him though.
Well, I appreciate you doing this with me, and it's great having you here, Craig.
Well, thank you.
Now, obviously, people know how these conversations work, so many of y'all already know these two gentlemen, so they are absolute legends in the sport. And
in our own way. Legends in our own mind, right?
Yeah. Infamous, if you want to use
that's
that.
right. That's
if you
perfect.
hang around long enough, I guess, you know.
It's a perfect deal.
Yeah. All right, now we're talking about the individuals. So if you're asking for what's going on for 2020, that's for another day. So we'll start with Larry. This is for a lot of people that do follow me. They're like into cycling and other aspects of it. So let's, from the outside looking in, Larry McBride, where'd you start? How long you been doing this now?
Well, this year's 43 years. So I think it's 43. It could be 44. I can't keep up when you get this many of them. But, I started out in the dirt. And as we're sitting here in my office, and, there's a picture right behind you that actually what I started on a T500 Suzuki. Now I rode motocross bikes, and prior to that, and then started drag racing. I started racing in the dirt, and actually my first bike I ever ridden on the asphalt was a triple 750 Kawasaki, and I can't even remember exactly what year, but I have the picture of the very first run I ever made. They used to race against cars.
Oh, wow. And
I run a 12:11 was my time. So, and it was on an old triple cow, OH2, I guess that's, back in the day. Stock exhaust on it, little bitty wheelie bars about a foot long. And then I basically, did the dirt drags. And then, as we went to lunch today, you got to meet a guy that got me really started on a regular basis on the asphalt and in the dirt. or I should say, he introduced me to nitromethane, and all downhill from there, man. You get that. Once you get that nitro fix, it's hard to. It's hard to stop, and I don't regret any of it. If I could go back and rewind and change a few things, I might change. I might change the way I handle a few things in life. But as far as changing what I've done in my life in drag racing, I love it, and all my friends that I've made, and I wouldn't take nothing for it, because they're more part of my family sometimes than my family is. Sometimes I spend more time with my racing family than you actually do with your family when you start combining all of my years together. Kind of like I was telling you to earlier this morning, as I started down in the dirt, of course, and then I went to asphalt, started running asphalt somewhere around 1977, and then and I rode Harleys all the way up till 1980, and then 1980 I started running inline four-cylinder, started riding for a guy named Danny Johnson, which a lot of people out there know who he is, and I raced for him for 3 years. So did very good, run the Southern Nationals, the NHRA race, got my Wally, so I got one of the, I got one thing off of my bucket list anyway, so as people call it nowadays, so thank God I have that. And and then 1984 I kind of bought my own deal with me and some friends here locally. We did that for about a year, and that didn't work out like we had wanted to do, and I needed to do my own deal. So kind of like I told you, I went early. I went in 1985. I went actually the winter of 1984 is when it actually happened. I actually went to a guy named Clark Rowley, which is like a daddy to me, and he owned a couple of car dealerships here in town. And I went to him and told him, hey, I need to. Oh, this is what I want to do. I want to buy this bike from Vance and Hines. He said, okay, go get it. So that's what we did. We went out and bought that, and kind of started my that's the start of my own, doing my own. That way I kind of control my destiny. Where was you going to go with this? In other words, I could control, okay, I'm going to this race, or I'm not going. And that's kind of how we did it. And then I've been blessed with, surrounding myself with great people, great sponsors, not only that, great friends, great customers. It goes on and on and on, because you can't do it without them all. Yeah. And a great family. If I had one thing in racing, if I could possibly rewind that, it would be the amount of time that I got to spend with my children coming up. Because, my oldest daughter was born in 80. My oldest daughter was born in 85. My youngest daughter was born in 85. So, right in the midst of their being born and growing, I'm right in the middle of trying to build a career. Oh, yeah. So, back in the day, there was no such thing as running 5, 6, 7, 8 races. In the AMA drag bike days, back in the day when it was drag bike, prior to Brandy having AMA drag bike, this was prior to that, and we had IDBA.
Yeah.
So you remember them? I think didn't you run some of that, Greg?
We did a little bit of that, on the funny bike side.
Yeah. So what happened there is you're talking about running 12, 14, 15 races a year. So there's a lot of racing. Now take it, the work was not nearly as extended as it is today. But back in the ProStar days, I think we had 12 races on the schedule with ProStar.
Yeah, at times.
Yeah, at times we'd have 12 friggin' races, and we were running hard. I mean, we were running, of course, and started in '99. We're not only was we running 12 Pro Star races, we were doing like 6 NHRA races. So that was like 18 races a year. So my kids suffered a lot from it, from me being gone, and that's probably the only thing that I really. If there was a regret in racing, my regret would be not being there when my kids were, young and growing up. My wife had to take care of them, and I tell everybody, my wife has a love-hate relationship, and I understand the hate part. I understand when all that started. So, but other than that, that's the only regret that I would ever. Regret now with my kids growed up, all married and got kids and all that. Now I get to spend all the time with the grandchildren that I possibly can, which is a lot, as much as I can. But the coolest part about them is send them back home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part, right?
Yeah.
So, I've had a long, great career and plan on continuing it for many, many more.
Now we have one of the core features for Vantine Nitro-Sports over here, and we know that when it comes to knowing nitro, methane, Greg is definitely at the top of the food chain. So he's got this look on his face like, where are you going with this?
That's true, because I was my brother and myself was involved with Greg and Jeff, his brother, many years before Greg was involved with Vantine Nitro-Sports, and Dave used to be on my crew.
Yeah, back in the 90s.
Back in the 90s. So we've got a long relationship. I mean, Greg, when he built his the Yellow Bullet, when Greg and him and Jeff first built that bike, Steve and I was with them. I mean, we was on the phone with them, helping them, doing whatever. I mean, we were great friends then. Mm-hmm. Even prior to them ever building a top fuel bike, we were great friends. I mean, some of our best times I can remember Gainesville on the golf cart.
Funny bike and the Mike Law days.
Oh yeah, and maybe
go back a long way. I'm afraid.
Maybe too many adult beverages on Sunday night.
Yeah.
After the races, you get to have some adult beverages and things can get a little carried away and have fun. But Greg's been around a long time. So
my 30th year, I figured out that I've been actually doing this stuff too. Back in the early 90s, like I actually got my start. Strangely enough, just going to the track and helping my brother. Like, I mean, I used to play a lot of sports, and I hurt myself, and I couldn't do that. So I just go to the track and hang out, and started helping out a little bit, and got the bug. And next thing you know, we're getting into the funny bike side of it pretty serious. I mean, we had a lot of good years in the funny bikes too, racing with Gary Clark and Keith Lynn and. Jerry Graves and all the names from the past.
All the great guys too, man. I missed like Jerry Graves, all them guys. I missed all them. So that was the good old days. I mean, that's what we call the good old days. A lot of cold beverages together. Raced a lot together. I mean, and it was expensive for these guys because they were still coming from Canada to all these races.
So we were both. There's lots of great racers from Canada, Mike Konopacki and all them guys, but. On the pro side, in the funny bike days, there wasn't too many of us coming from that.
Not back then.
World. No.
Yeah, not back then. You had Konopacki. He'd been doing it forever. So, and now his son's carrying on the legacy, right?
Yeah.
So, it's been great, man.
About 2001, we kind of made the step, and Jeff went to ride a little bit for Mike Dryden with an old Northern Storm bike that he had. And that's how we kind of made the step across. And like Larry says, once you get that nitro bug, it's hard to go back, You get that in your blood, I think. So,
What's gave you the spark to build the Vantine bike? What brought that about?
Well, we hooked up with Mike Dryden and John Elwine, and we had a build a bike with them, and sometimes things just don't work out, and that was fine. So we parted ways and sat down and just decided as Larry said, it was time to go out on our own. Time to go and
Control your own destiny.
Yeah.
Kind of. You kind of control your own destiny. I mean, it was up to you then to make it or break it.
Yeah. So we called Larry and said, hey, we want to build a fuel bike. And I mean, I have to say, I owe a lot of what I ever knew to these two gentlemen here. I mean, they've been great to, helping us out over the years.
But things like that work both ways. Because we've learned a lot from them too. So it works both ways.
And I've seen that, and I mean, it's when obviously the competition is there, but I mean, we've obviously been to countless races together, and you're constantly working with each other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's
that includes giving up parts too. I've seen y'all give up a motor so somebody else can race.
Whatever it takes to keep the other one going is what we're going to do. You got to help everybody, and I mean, not only has Greg been a long-time friend of mine. Dave's been a long-time friend of mine, and then his whole crew. We've become to really like all of them, and Greg's even got his son Neil involved in the deal, and
he's into bikes now. He's got a couple of race bikes that he's getting ready to put together and go racing. So it gets in the blood, right?
Yeah, and I think the world of his son. I was telling him this morning out there that I like Neil a lot, and then he came a long way. The whole crew, the whole Vantine Nitro-Sports deal is a great deal. Dave's worked hard at it. He's got good. You got Joe Toronto that's works hard. Works hand in hand with Greg, and Dave's got his brother that works for him.
Pete.
You got Pete, and then you got Lord.
Jim.
You got Jim, my buddy Jim.
Yeah.
And of course Danny Vogt that go to races. And
I mean Dave's got a group of people that's been with him for 20 plus years through the different classes that he run. He was big in the pro mod for a lot of years, and
did very well in pro mod. Dave was a good pro mod racer. You take Danny Vogt. I mean, Danny Vogt used to work with ProStar.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even remember. I think Danny was, he was up there in the management in the ProStar deal, running the, I think he was in charge of lanes and, keeping everything, trying to keep the whole thing, keeping the show rolling.
Okay.
And of course, that was the good days. I loved them days. I mean, not that I don't love today, but you look back and you go, "Wow, I didn't really realize how good how good we had it back then." Until you look into what's going on in today's world, especially since 2020 with this coronavirus going on. Who would have ever thought that you would a year later, we go to lunch today. Oh yeah, you got to wear a mask in the restaurant, but you don't have to wear it sitting down. So that's a good part. It'd be hard to eat, right?
It'd be hard to eat.
But I mean, who would imagine that you would be going through this? Because as we all know, it killed our racing in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, I raced one time in 2020. I think.
Well, we all did. Yeah, we were shut down for the whole season, pretty much.
So it was. Not being good, and then of course, this year, still got a lot of restrictions, going on. So it's something we have to all live with and deal with, and hopefully that our government one day will get it all sorted out. And maybe, I think we're going in the right direction right now, anyway, as far as the pandemic's concerned. So we'll just have to, see how 2020 goes, Look forward to many more of them, I know that.
Yeah. I mean, we had our whole bike apart down to the bare frame, and took 4 months and put it all back together with a few new toys on it and some more controls and that. So we're going to try that out hopefully next weekend. We're going to go to Valdosta, and looks like for a testing weekend, basically.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, and then... we're excited to be here and see the new one that's sitting there almost complete.
Oh yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's for sure. We're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm glad Greg came down to pick up them engines so he could see the process that or see the, I shouldn't say process, or see the progress that. And Greg's one of the few that can that's got experienced eye on looking at how much work it's got to be done, because a lot of people would come in and go, wow, this thing, man, you should have it running next week. Well, we know for a fact there's a lot of stuff that's been done on it, and we know there's a lot of stuff that's got to be done on it.
There's still a lot to be done on it.
There's literally, I don't know, I would say there's in the 100 hours plus.
Oh, I think
hundreds
absolutely.
of hours. I mean, I'd say there's another 200 or 300 hours left on it.
Now, we get to hear a lot. You hear people say it a lot, and they even say it about, they said it about Preston on his Nitro-Harley machine a couple weeks ago. Oh, I could ride that. Greg, from your standpoint, what's the, people that say that, what's your biggest misconception? How would you educate that person? Say, this is nitromethane.
Give me 250,000 and hop on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and it's true. There's a lot of people that say that they could get on one of these bikes. I mean, if I had $1 for everybody, I mean, I've been doing around this for 30 years. If I had $1 for anybody that says, "Do you ever get on? Why do you get on and ride it?" And I said, because I'm not Larry McBride. I'm not my brother Jeff. I'm not Dave Vantine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It takes a certain type of person to get on one of these things. Maybe the best example would say, I know that Steve, or when Dave sat on the bike for the first time, we went and we're testing, and they say, ride it out to 300 feet and shut it off.
Okay.
And they're asking you to do that because they're wondering if your brain can think fast enough to know where 300 feet is.
Gotcha.
Go out 300 feet and shut it off. Well, if you can go out 300 feet and shut it off, take it to 600 feet and shut it off.
Right.
Can you think fast enough to make that to make these kinds of decisions at the acceleration and the G's and the what's going on at that sort of a speed? And the other thing I would say, and maybe you can support me, a lot of people maybe could ride these things straight down on a perfect run. If you're going down straight down the middle of the track and everything's working the way it should, mm-hmm. then maybe there's a number of people that could do it. When it goes wrong,
well, here's the sad part, and what people don't understand about these bikes is.
Yeah, he would know. I'm just a crew chief.
Right. The sad part about we design and build these bikes one way. Mm-hmm. They're made to idle and wide open. So, well, I'm just going to hit it a little bit. No, you can't. No. To make everything work, make the clutch work.
That's so true.
Make the clutch work, make the timers go off, make everything work together. It has to go from dead idle to wide open as fast as you possibly can turn that throttle, and try to break the cables if you can. That's how it has to be ridden. And they leave so hard that our bikes are a little. There's bikes out there that, like, we'll take a pro mod bike. Mm-hmm. They literally, they can out 60 foot us. They shouldn't be, but they can.
Yeah.
But they're lightweight. They're in there. It's just a process how they do it. But it's from the 60 foot to the 330 where we really haul ass.
Okay.
All right. Then it's from the 330 to the 8th mile where we really go fast. And nowadays is from half track on where you go super fast. You're talking about covering the back half of the track in just under 1.8 seconds. So there's where, are you sure you think you can ride this thing? I'm just telling you, don't you? Because what happened is you'll kill yourself. Is the bottom line. And these people that say they can do it, I wouldn't dream of putting one of them on either one of these. When I'm saying a guy that's not even a racer, or a guy that's just a street bike racer, mm-hmm. and comes over and says, "Boy, I could ride that thing." There's no question in my mind you could ride it. You just can't ride it the first time. In other words, we're going to have to train you. Okay. We're going to have to teach you how to do everything the right way. Because now you're going from a bike that you set up on to a bike that you lay down on. Yeah. The first thing you got to learn how to do is keep your family jewels out of the way. Okay, that's the very first thing. Okay, so once you get that out of the way, then we can maybe teach you to leave the starting line. And then if you don't do exactly, if you was going to be on my bike, and you didn't do exactly what I told you to do, then you wouldn't ride it the second time. Okay? You have to be able to get them through the burnout the very first time. That's hard enough. The burnout is probably one of the toughest things, because you can blow it sky high right there. If you have not got throttle control, you're going to blow it. You could blow it up right there. Now, on my bike, we've made things a little easier there as far as throttle control. We put a throttle stop on it. It can only go so far, and you're done. Eventually, all of them will have that on it, because the way we're building these things today with the more and more power, the different fuel systems, and to control everything, it's hard to control it unless you put controls on to control it. Same thing in the top fuel car industry. That's why they put throttle stops on, so they can control that RPM. We don't, if right now, the way my bike is set up, if the RPM varies, it goes 1,000 RPM more than what it's supposed to. It takes the pistons out. Takes the pistons out in the burnout.
Oh, geez.
I've done that twice. By not having, because what happens is as the air changes, the motor can rev up higher. Or when we first built our throttle stop, be hitting the throttle too hard in the burnout and knocking the throttle stop off, and the motor revving up too high. You catch it real quick, but it's still done too late.
Yeah.
All right. So the first time that I took the pistons out was when I run Ian King.
Okay.
In the finals in 2018, I believe it was. Might not have been the finals. It was one of the runs. And then the second time I took it out was in the I can't remember who I was running, but it was in 2020, and it was in the semis. I can't remember who I was running there either, but I took out the pistons again in the burnout. Came back for the finals to run Mitch, and we'd solved that problem. But that was on a Monday morning, and the air was different. We didn't take in consideration to reset the throttle stop, so it would not rev up as high.
Okay.
And we've learned more things about the throttle stop. Is when we first built it, we built it with coarse threads in the throttle stop, so you didn't have fine enough adjustment. Put finer threads on it. Now you can fine tune it. So there's a lot of things. Even in you'd think a quarter 20 thread to a quarter 24 thread. There's not a lot of difference, but there is a lot of difference when you go to adjusting something.
Yeah. And remind everybody the horsepower, torque. How many G's are you pulling in these machines?
Well, horsepower, you're looking in, with our new computer program, some parts of the racetrack, we're up there at 1,670 horsepower. And that all depends on how much ignition timing you're putting in them.
Mm-hmm. Nitro percentage.
Yeah, nitro percentage, what
blower you have on it, blower pulley. I mean, there's a combination.
Right. And in general, leaving the starting line, you're going to be putting down around 1,400 horsepower, 1,370 in general.
Yeah.
And then we might take out, let's say at 0.2 of a second or 0.3 of a second, you knock out 12 degrees of lead. So when I say lead, you're knocking out 12 degrees of timing. So now you've taken that initial, we'll just round it off to 1,400 horsepower, and you're probably knocking that horsepower back to 1,200 horsepower, 1,250 horsepower, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then you're starting to put it back in, but you're ramping it back in slowly. And that's why your horsepower with our new tune-up calculator going off, and we base all of this stuff. You base everything off of your weight, mm-hmm. And barometric pressure, comes into play when you're making these tune-up calculators. A lot of stuff comes into play by how much horsepower it takes to accelerate, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got to take into rear wheel coming up, wheel drag. I mean, there's all kind of, and a lot of that's just numbers by numbers guy that's writing the program, and that's from literally years of data, and data that we have from his bike and my bike. So we're getting actually we're making more data sooner. So we get more data. And that's one good thing about when they make a run or we make a run, we say, well, let me look at your computer. Let me look at your computer. And sometimes we say, okay, well, this is it. Or, what's the problem here? What's the problem there? I mean,
well, you talk about the data. I remember we were at Dragway 42, and it's me and Joe, and they were looking at the air temps and stuff. And you had the handwritten books where you'd logged everything from years earlier.
Yeah.
So that's how long they keep information. Literally, they pulled down a book from the shelf in Vantine's trailer, and they were looking at what they hand wrote from years earher.
Absolutely.
To figure out how to set it up. And Greg and Joe were going over it.
You try to keep that data because, but the interesting thing is a lot of Larry's data with his bike. Every bike is somewhat individual.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's an open door policy, but for the most part, what might work on his bike wouldn't necessarily work on my bike,
right.
Our bike, correct. Because it's shorter wheelbase, different configuration, this and that. So, I mean, you have to keep your own data and you can refer back to it. You go to a track, same track, 5 years later, same track, same temperatures, same...
Bike don't react the same.
But it gives you a good starting point, right? You go back and say, well, we ran this back
exactly.
there. And
absolutely. You can go back. It's always a reference number.
Yeah, reference point.
It's always a reference point. That's why we keep the data. Mm-hmm. It's data. It's all about the data. and being able to have something to relate back to. But it's... there's so much. Our stuff is so blower boost sensitive. Our clutches are so horsepower sensitive. If you just miss the clutch setting a little bit, air pressure has become a major deal these days. Yeah. Tires, wheelie bar height, and you just go on and on and on and on, and the data just keeps you're going, damn glad I got this. I can remember the days when I didn't write down how high my wheelie bars was at this point. Okay, now I do. Every lap, what's the wheelie bar height? No. So we keep up with that. I started keeping up with wheelie bar stuff back in the day when we used to run Atlanta a lot. And of course, Atlanta Raceway, the left lane always pulled you to the wall, tried to suck you to the wall.
Okay.
So what we did to that was lower one of the wheels, in general, the left wheelie bar make it hit and drive us back to the right.
Okay.
So we've never been somewhere some of the people want to cock their wheels and do this. We've never been a big believer in cocking the wheels. Oh. We believe in keeping everything dead in line as best you possibly can, and use your other things like your wheelie bars to be able to make you go straight, where people don't. We learned that from pro stock guys, pro stock bike guys. That's what they do. Yeah. We actually learned that from Matt Hines and Vance and Hines. So back in the day when he was racing pro stock, but just because we was probably down at, I think we was in Atlanta, and you're having a hard time getting down that lane, and you're talking to them guys, what are you doing? Well, this is what we do. Well, hell, that wheelie bar should relate, whether it's pro stock or top fuel, so we did it right down the avenue. So we've been a firm believer in that ever since.
How y'all doing? I hope y'all enjoying this so far. We're going to take a quick break, and I want to thank y'all for listening in. We've got a bit more to go here with Larry and Greg. So JT, try and keep up. We've got a lot more guests coming up, but again, I want to take a brief moment and remind y'all that this is brought to you by Schnitz Racing and dragbike.com. So please support both of those because they support me, plus they support the sport in so many ways. So again, my content today is brought to you by Schnitz Racing and dragbike.com. All right, let's go back to the talk. Now we're going to ask Greg. I got 2 questions. We're going to go with Greg first, and we'll let Larry answer it. Greg, looking back on your career, what would be, let's say, your worst weekend in drag racing? What was your toughest or worst weekend that you had to contend with?
Well, the day you met me.
So ask me what my second worst one is.
What was your second worst weekend?
Everybody has those weekends in their history, especially when you've been doing it a long time.
Which one sticks out for you, though?
Well, let me see. I know we went in 2000 with my brother Jeff, and we raced the whole season in Funny Bike. And went to the last race, tied for third, or right, still in the hunt for, a top 3 showing, and had a different motorhome and a different trailer, and it basically went bad from the time we left had trouble getting across the border, got down to Gainesville, tore up our first motor, had finally gotten ourselves a second motor, tore up a turbo. Like we ended up going home with everything we owned in a box.
What year was that?
2000.
Okay.
In 2000, we had trouble with the motorhome getting home. The weather turned bad. It was in November. It was just one of those weekends from hell where you get home and you say to yourself, you're so glad you're home, and you don't know why you'd ever go back. And then that was the end of Funny Bike for us, because right about then, Scooter, we were thinking, do we build a new chassis? Do we do this? What do we do? And then Scooter essentially said, yeah, don't bother, because Funny Bike's on its way out.
Right.
And so we never did go back to Funny Bike, and we ended up moving on to Top Fuel. And so, that would be one of the, say, 2 or 3, but that was a brutal weekend, right? I think I might know what yours is, but I'll let you say.
Well, I've got a couple. One not too many years ago, but one a long time ago. If you have to, but both of them the same way. So I've got 2 answers for your question.
Okay.
Probably one of my worst. I had 2 really bad days.
Okay.
One of my worst days was March the 1st, 1992, Gainesville, Florida, approximately 12:05.
Uh-oh.
Give or take?
Give or take a couple of minutes. At 205 miles an hour, I crashed.
Oh.
And this was back in the day when we had guardrails, no concrete walls, and I crashed the old Vance and Hines bike and went flipping down through there. Made Nadia Comaneci look terrible back when she was a gymnast. I did so many flips, it was crazy. So that was a bad day. I learned what not to do. That's the day I learned that the throttle works both ways. That you have no reason, if you're out of shape, shut the throttle off. There's another run, because if not, it could be even longer before you get to race, if you ever get to race again.
Ooh.
I guess. And then there was 2015. There again.
Yeah, that's one I thought I remember for sure.
Yeah. 2015, Atco, New Jersey.
Yeah.
But there again, it goes that the throttle works both ways, and I was doing it both ways. I just shouldn't have been.
Too many times. One too many times.
And of course, I blew a motor worse than I've ever seen an engine blow up in Top Fuel. And I think Greg will mention the
worst I've ever seen. Just carnage.
And got some 3rd-degree burns and things like that. So I learned not to do that, and I've pedaled the bike since, but not like I did there. And that was my own fault. I'll take 100% responsibility for having all the carnage that we had. It was definitely my fault. It had nothing to do with the motorcycle. It was come from, on and off the throttle, and these things are really not meant to do that, even though we tend to do it, especially if we're in a race. But we were it was an XDA race. It was Jason's race.
Yeah. And, I was IDBL at the time.
IDBL at the time.
Go. Yeah.
It was IDBL at the time, and man, we just blew the thing up. Just too much fuel, just crazy. Even though we didn't have to do it, me and Dave was trying to put a show on too.
Yeah. And
but just to show you what kind of person Dave Vantine is, he sees I'm in trouble. In other words, He was actually ahead of me when I blew up, but I came by him on fire. Well, he knows I'm in trouble. Well, he's stopping right with me. Well, it done blew the backbone out of my chassis. It done hit me in the chest. I'm just in, and I know I'm hurt. I just don't know how bad yet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting stopped. And I stop. I see the ambulance, so I get stopped right at the ambulance. Because I know I'm going to need them. Well, Dave stops right with me, right? Of course, just lays his bike off to the, on the side and runs back to me. And I guess the funniest thing was when the bike was sitting there on fire, I'm still over smoking, Mm-hmm. Well, all the ambulance people run by me to the bike. Hey!
Right here.
I'm smoking. I'm smoking. But anyway, they come. The other two guys come. They took me to the ambulance and all that. Of course, Dave went with me, and I always wear my Elmer Tret shirt. Mm-hmm. And they were going to cut my shirt off, and Dave said, "No, you cannot cut that shirt off. Do not cut that shirt off." He would not let them cut my shirt off. We took it off.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wow.
And of course, then everything from there on, flew me to the hospital and did all that. And then probably the coolest thing I could say happened was Reggie Showers came to the hospital, and as you know, a major burn victim.
Yeah.
Well, they let me out of the hospital. We never could figure out why they let me out. Like my doctor here could not figure out why they let me out. Why would they ever let you out of the hospital with third-degree burns? Well, on my release papers, at the very top in bold letters, no insurance. I had insurance. I even give them my insurance card. To make a long story short, went back to the racetrack. Reggie Showers took me up, and they, had me bandaged up and all that. Got up the next morning, I drove my tractor trailer back 6 hours.
Wow.
To the shop here. Got back here, took a picture of my leg, sent it to my buddy that's a trauma surgeon. Oh my God, meet me at my office. I cannot believe they let you out of the hospital.
Wow.
That's what they're all about. That's what the reason it was, because they thought I was, no pay.
Oh, jeez.
And that's what it boils down to. And that was in Philadelphia, because they flew me to Philadelphia.
Jeez.
To the burn center there.
I personally never heard any of that. So.
Yeah, but that's and I still got the papers that says, because they should never let me out with third-degree burns, too much chance for infection and just all kind of stuff. So, but I'm glad I did get to come home, and then of course my doctor, my friend, did all my. He don't even normally do skin grafts, but he ended up doing all of my skin grafts and had me at home, and fortunately he was able to come to my house and see me. I'd have to go to the office, and it kind of worked. It kind of, I had kind of some good, privileges going on there for him to be able to come see me. But that goes back to the two worst. I'd have to give two, because they're right there together. Yeah.
Now, from that, and to take just something that struck me, and because obviously I've been around y'all. I appreciate y'all's hospitality when I'm with you, because I can come and go. I make sure I stay out of their way. But your comment about Dave and the shirt, what strikes me, and this is just me thinking, trying to help people understand the family unity. Dave knows you so well that he understands the importance of a T-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
And that shows. Yeah. I mean, they're competitors. They want to beat each other, but the fact that he knows the value of that T-shirt to live.
We're all friends. This is God's honest truth. We're all friends. We're sitting here. We drink together. We play together. We do everything together. But when Greg and Dave and Joe and his whole crew, we go to the starting line. I think the world of Dave until I put that helmet on and we go up there and do that. After that, he's not my friend until after we stop.
Yeah.
I think I did this. I got into this and stepped up through the whatever levels that we went through and everything, because I always had a desire to race the quickest bike against the best in the world.
Okay.
That's what drove me through whatever ranks, and why I guess I still do it today. But I mean, I would say the same thing. I mean, we would help each other. I would give him everything. We would give him everything we can, because to get him to the line, as soon as he gets to the line, I want to kick his ass.
Absolutely.
And I know he wants to do the same to us, and I would expect nothing less. And that goes for all the different guys, right? Everybody's like that.
I mean, yeah, if you're a racer, that's the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason we can't be friends. We just can't be friends when we both up there getting ready to run each other.
Yeah.
Now, if I can say one thing, last year in November, which I wasn't mad, but I was jokingly mad with them, because they cost me, the Vantine Nitro-Sports cost me the championship. It was their fault.
Yeah.
It was not my fault.
It was. Yeah.
I did everything I was supposed to do to win the championship. And they only had one.
Greg's grinning, by the way.
They only had one job to do. They only had one job to do, and that was take out Mitch. And they didn't do it. Okay. Now we would have had to run each other in the finals then, but that would have been okay. And whoever won would have won the championship.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think if I had won the championship, I would have won by 1 point.
Yeah, because you would have.
I was number one qualifier.
Number one qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I asked them. I never really ever asked them to do a whole lot, and I asked them to take out Mitch. They didn't do it.
We didn't do it. No.
So I don't know if I can ever forgive them for it.
Now, when
Is that the only thing that you're not going to
Well, maybe not the only thing, but
add that
it was,
to the list?
But that just goes to it's just part of friendship, and I've just bust on them about that.
But we have to make sure we make a comment, because I'm sure Mitch is going to hear this
Yeah,
at some
Mitch
point. And
might
he's
do.
probably pumping his fist.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, Mitch.
Absolutely.
He's probably on the. He's probably done flew up to New York, got on the Empire State Building, hollering. He's probably going, "We are the champion."
Yeah. I mean,
So-
he got it done. What can you say?
He got it done. So it was. Well, that was the start of the new rule.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
race was the start of the new rules.
That's why we're going down there by ourselves to test.
You're good.
Yeah, exactly. It's Mitch's fault.
Yeah,
It's Mitch's fault.
Thanks a lot, Mitch.
Thanks a lot, Mitch. If you hear this, it's Mitch's fault, because he went to Dragway 42, and unfortunately, none of us other Top Fuel guys went in 2020 due to circumstances with the
All
pandemic,
restrictions.
and he got them points. And it ended up being the right thing for him to do. So, and then all these times I thought that they were my friends. But maybe they wasn't. Or they wasn't at that point anyway.
Well, no, not for a few days I was.
So, and because after I watched them go, and we do believe they had a malfunction of some sort. We think we had an oil leak or something.
Yeah,
oil
there
on
was
the
an
track.
oil leak and patch oil under the back tire, and
Yeah.
one of those things.
Smoke the tire.
Racing.
Yeah.
Part of racing, man. It's just part of it, and I hate it because that would have been my 21st championship. So it's okay. It's okay, Greg.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I don't think he's quite over it yet.
I don't know if I'll ever be over it.
Now let's go flip it and just come back to Greg again. Your favorite moment?
Oh.
I know you got plenty of them too, but which one sticks out
Well,
for you?
it's a toss-up. I mean, there's, I guess I would have to say, winning Indy is in Top Fuel Racing is like winning the Masters in golf.
Absolutely.
So, 9, second year of the yellow bike.
Yeah.
We won Indy and Top Fuel at Indy that year, and
That's right.
that's got to be. That was just a great night, a great day, a great feeling.
I can go out there and pull my run book for 2009 on that particular run. It's got a big, I can't say that word right now. It's got a real ugly word written on there.
You know, it's kind of funny that I still remember that weekend, and back then you pulled chips to add a degree and put a degree in, and Steve and I would always kind of look at each other, and he's adding a degree, and I'm humming and hawing, should I take and put a degree in? And I didn't put one in. I left it, and we went 6:04, which at the time was our best run.
Absolutely.
And we won that race, and that's maybe the high point. Now, that's with my brother. When you talk about Vantine, I mean, I don't know if I get to choose two, but the 577 night was, that run kind of came out of nowhere. That was in 2015 after you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
That run kind of, we thrashed a change of motor that time and worked hard and didn't get a chance to do a whole lot of tune-up. We got it up to the line. To this day, I still think it's the prettiest run. Not the quickest now, but the prettiest run that bike's ever made.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Indy first, 577, right there.
Right there with it.
Yeah. But no, that was a happy day when we won.
Yeah.
Won Indy, Top Fuel at Indy.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Larry.
He's got a lot more to choose from, I'll tell you.
Woo!
Don't be tough on you.
October the 30th, 1999.
First 5.
First 5 second run.
Yeah, that's
First
a
5
good
second run.
That would be. I don't even know if anything could ever touch that.
How many?
At an NHRA race.
How many 5-second runs have you made since then?
Whew. You know,
Figured I'd
I
challenge
have
him with that
made
question.
so many that you literally could take everybody's in the country, every Top Fuel bike, every rider, I'm talking about in the world, add them all together, and I've got them beat by 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say at least 2.
I've been doing it 40 some years. I run my first 5 in 1999. The next 5 was 5 years later, was one of our bikes, which was Jimmy Brantley. You know, we were doing all the tuning 5 years later.
Okay.
And so I was very, very fortunate. I mean, very fortunate. And then if I was like Greg, I was going to have to probably pick one of the next coolest moments in racing. I've had a lot of great moments, but the next coolest moment in racing that I really remember, really thought it was great, was the first side-by-side 5s at
I was going to say
IDT.
that.
Oh, yeah.
That was special. Yeah,
that was very special. And to be able to do it with my friends, you know, that's what was cool.
Yeah.
Of course, then I can go on, then the 550, and then this, and then the 265. So, I mean, it goes on and on and on. But if you have to remember the 2 memorable moments that I don't think I would ever forget would definitely be 1999 NHRA race, and then the IDBL race when we run the side-by-side. I was so excited because I carry radios on you know, I have a radio. And of course they told me, and I'm trying to holler at Dave.
Yeah, he's hollering at Dave.
I'm hollering at him, side by side 5. I just thought it was the coolest thing since Cracker Jacks. And then even made it even greater, and to show you how a great promoter that Jason is. He come flying down there on his moped to congratulate us, and took pictures with us down there. Yeah. So that was an extremely good memories, and it's good to be able to race for somebody that appreciated what you done.
And that was Dave's first 5.
Yeah.
The 97.
Yeah.
He went 97. You went 79, I think, didn't you? 78, maybe.
77. No, 79.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere, yeah. 77, 78, we're somewhere around there. We were in that area somewhere.
It was quicker than the 97. I knew that. But no, that was Dave's first 5, which made, and then the side-by-side. So, I mean, that was a good day that day.
Yeah, and then we ended up, if I'm not mistaken, we ended up doing it at a Man Cup together with the first ones at the Man Cup side-by-side 5s, I believe. Yeah, I can't remember. Sure. It's hard to
There's been
remember the second one. It's really easy to remember the first one.
I think we're still the quickest side by side. 74 to 81,
Yeah,
I believe.
that might be it. Yeah,
As far as I know, anyways. I mean, like,
I'm pretty sure.
I could stand to be corrected, but I believe that's still the quickest.
I believe you're
And that
right.
was at Jason's race.
Yeah.
I believe in 2016, I think.
Yeah. We got to we used to run with the IDVL quite a bit, and we love doing it. And times have changed a little bit right now, and hopefully one day we'll get to go back and have some more fun with them. Because Jason welcomes us.
You don't find a better racetrack, I'll give you that.
No.
Yeah, that's a
No.
gorgeous track.
Oh.
All right, now we're y'all. Obviously, we've talked over the years, shared some stories and stuff like that. So I'm going to bring up 2 words. This is particular for Larry because it's going to let me pick on somebody at the same time. Just 2 words: Ian King and horseshoes. Remember the cone? Y'all had that running joke.
Yeah. Well, I give Ian the cone. For hitting the cones, right?
Yep.
And the horseshoe came from the Vantine Pollard group of people. They're always wanting the horseshoe, and they've had it once or twice. I always seem to try to get it back though. But yeah, and I believe, if I am not mistaken, Jim started that.
He might have, yeah.
I think Jim started it. But yeah, all about the horseshoe. Yeah, well, we won't say where he said it was, so we'll leave that private. We'll leave that private. Yeah, we'll leave that private. So, yeah, a lot of great times in racing. I tell you, it's kind of nice sitting here reminiscing a little bit. So it's awesome.
Now there's one more. It's a story. Me and Larry were speaking on the phone one day. This was, I think, last year when we had this conversation. Now, again, it's to emphasize family and how they have fun and like to sometimes play pranks on each other. Oh. And you described an incident one time regarding tie straps.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, we've had a few of them. And, some of that stuff came from the Canadians. Yeah. We've had a few tie strap days, yes. Tie wrap days has definitely helped, has been known. Not only have we been got, we have gotten people. So I wouldn't take any time. We used to play hard, race hard, play hard. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was y'all that got me the first time with the tie wraps.
I don't know if it was us. It might have been. I know Mike Law.
It was Mike Law.
Mike Law was bad for that. He got caught crawling under Gary Clark's rig.
Yeah, that was Mike Law. That was Mike Law and them.
Yeah, he was bad for that.
That's right. That was Mike Law.
We got caught on our little motorhome that we had.
Yeah, and then we continued on, and we took one time and of course, I probably shouldn't say this in the podcast. He probably don't even know to this day who got him, but it really don't matter now. And I don't know if you ever knew Marty Kane that used to be with ProStar back in the day,
no.
But he's the one that actually originally started DragBike.com.
Okay.
And me and Marty were like extremely good friends. That's why I'm probably still, my website and all still hosted by dragbike.com, and and I'm still very love Brandy and everybody, all you guys at dragbike.com. I have no problems with anything like that. But Scooter, we tie wrapped his drive shaft. Well, we added a little kicker to it. Tie wrapped a couple extra nuts on there, so it really shaked the drive shaft.
Make it sound like it come right up through the floor.
Well, anyway, we're at a steakhouse. We was in Indianapolis, and we drove somewhere to a steakhouse. Well, Scooter and him was coming to the same place to eat. It was me and Mike Law, and all of us was eating, right? And thank God Mike Law and them, they kind of blamed it on them, but they didn't do it. But Scooter is out there in the ProStar dually, riding in a straight line with Marty was running along beside him, see if he could hear what the hell is going on. We're sitting in there looking out the window of the restaurant. We are dying. I mean, absolutely dying. But we never said a word.
You needed one that was about 2 feet long plus, and then they did a real good job of slapping.
They'd be slapping it. But you put some. Scooter couldn't drive but about 20 miles an hour because when you get up too fast, that drive shaft, it tried to shake out of the truck because it was out of balance with all the nuts on it, right? Yeah, so it was quite a. We've had some fun. Run hard, play hard, and
yeah.
I would take nothing
for it. Good times ahead and get this year over with and hopefully get through this bad situation that we're in and get back to what we love to do.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's touch on one more topic right quick because I know Greg, you got to get going. You got a long drive home. Obviously, we're talking nitromethane, and we can't end without talking about Elmer Trent.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God! I mean, that's probably.
If you want to, what are the personal things you would like people to know about him that maybe you haven't shared, or maybe it's just the younger generation they haven't heard it yet? Because he clearly is a pioneer.
There's only one word really. Actually, I say 2 words. He was absolutely the best. Not only that, he had charisma that I can't even put it. How much charisma he had, and when he talked, you listened.
Yeah.
He was very, very intelligent man. We learned a lot from him. He was a dear, dear friend of mine. I miss him. Here we are. We're going into. He died in '96, so we're well over 20 years. Of his death, and we still talk about him. He's I really can't say enough about Elmer. He was a man's man. He was an extremely good basketball player that people didn't. You would never know that the man could play basketball, but he could literally slam dunk a basketball. Unbelievable. Wow. At his weight, he was a big man. And just a good-hearted person. When I started my business, when I opened up originally here on Jefferson Avenue, when I moved out of my shop, I told you I missed a shop that I went to a smaller place prior to leaving the industrial park. The place I went to was in business with another guy. Another mistake that I made. I should have stayed by myself. But make a long story short, but Elmer is the one that I didn't have no money to do anything, and Elmer literally put stock in my store.
Oh wow!
And then it goes all the way back to when the IDBA quit running Top Fuel. So Elmer and I started match racing. Well, I didn't have the money to always even go to the match race or the parks or something. But Elmer said, "No, here, you're going." He'd send me a blower. So I'd say, "Well, I ain't got a good blower." Okay, here's a blower. You pay me when we get paid for the match race. And sometimes we had the money to pay him. Sometimes we didn't have the money to pay him.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of person he was. And not only just to me, there's other people that he was that good to too. And what Elmer always did was he would make you learn. In other words, learn the process. And that way it made us feel very proud because we was one of the first Top Fuel bikes, or we were the first Top Fuel bike to put a race pack computer on it. Right, it's kind of almost like putting this computer here on the bike. That's how big it was, and it was huge, man. I still got it, matter of fact. And we actually put one on Elmer's. He brought the bike up from Georgia, and we had the honor to put it on his bike. And then I used to go down and see him all the time, at his house, stay at his house, and learn a lot. And Steve learned a lot, and we made parts for Elmer. For his bike, Steve did, and Steve was one of the few people that Elmer trusted to make anything. So that says something for how good a machinist Steve is. But absolutely the best person. Jackie, his wife, absolutely the best. Kelly, I can't say enough about the whole family. Gina, Gina married Tony Lane, which was a ex-Top Fuel guy. That's probably the saddest day. We was talking about the happiest day in our life. Probably the saddest day in my motorcycle and drag racing history to me was 1996. Not only did I lose Elmer, which was a very dear friend of mine, I lost another good friend of mine, Blaine Johnson.
Yeah, same weekend. Yeah,
same friggin' weekend. So we got a double whammy. But not that I cared about Blaine a lot, but I had more personal stuff with Elmer as far as going out to dinner, going out boating, knowing each other off of the racetrack like we did on the racetrack, knowing what kind of person that Elmer was. Me and him used to go. It was so funny. We used to every night we'd go walking around in the pits, and Elmer was really soft-spoken. He didn't speak very loud, so when he'd be talking, I'd be walking, I'd be leaning over trying to listen because I couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear everything he was saying because he's so soft-spoken, and that's the way he was when other people came up. Y'all had a chance to meet Elmer.
I met him. I met the man. But I was a fairly new funny bike guy back in those days, and so I certainly met him. But he, we knew Ron Webb. We still do to this day. Knew him quite well. So sure, I met him. I'd share one of my experiences. The Indy weekend before the race, the Pro Star Indy weekend was about 2 weeks before Labor Day. And we were there with our funny bike, and we were out of the race at that point. So we thought, well, we're going to go down to the 1,000-foot mark. And that's where we sat and watched him do the 606.
That was on the Pro Star race.
On the Pro Star race. And I still remember him coming down through, and they didn't have the clutches that we have now. Yeah. But whatever he had in there, he got out a little ways, that clutch locked up, and then about just past the 8th mile, it picked that front tire up, and it just carried it for a little while, and then set it back down, and went by us and went to 606, and we all just sat there and just, back then, nobody had ever seen anything like it.
That was 2 weeks prior to his death.
Wow. Yeah. So. And those are the kind of memories that it's kind of one of those things you're glad that you were there.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Then when the weekend that he did die on that, we were racing at our local track with Mike Law and a bunch of...
Right, we was at the U.S. Nationals that weekend.
Yeah, at our local track, and at midnight, a bunch of us went out and we did a startup, much to the... We weren't very popular with the track owner of that. We all got our equipment out, a funny car, a Top Fuel bike, a funny bike, and a whole bunch of stuff. We started her up and had a cackle fest right in his honor, right in the...
That's pretty awesome.
In the parking lot at midnight.
Well, I tell you, talking about doing some funny, crazy stuff. This is another Gainesville story about cranking up because they got a curfew at Gainesville also. Well, we had been working on our bike. Well, we had to crank this thing up. Oh man! So we cranked it up, and by the time the law got over there, we had cut everything off. Everything was off, and we'd done had the curtains up. We were flying to get this thing up, right? And they wanted, who the hell, this race, and all kind of came about who cranked the bike up. Right down here, Tony Lane. This is like 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. They're in bed. They go down there beating on his door. We said, yeah, they did it down there. And they didn't have no reason not to believe us. This boy, Cookie Man. You ever remember Cookie Man?
No, I don't think I know.
Anyway, Cookie Man, he's the one that stood. And Tony Lane, and we're all backing him up with it that Tony Lane did it. So, that was quite a funny night. So that's just kind of fun you have.
All right, well, we'll be talking to him some more as the season goes on, but we know Greg's got to get moving. He's got a long drive back to that That place up north. What do they call it?
No, actually, I'm going the other way.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
down
going
to-
south.
Oh, you're going south?
He's
I'm
going
going about
south.
Austin.
He's going south.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going south. He's you don't really want to go back where it's cold at.
No, I got to go back at some point, but maybe it'll be warm up there by the time I get back.
So you'd be
I don't know,
gone.
probably snow.
Yeah, no snow. I hope we're done. But I'll be back in a week or so after the race. They'll let me back in.
That's right.
So he gets to hang out here with us for a while, so in the States, and then he'll
In the States, yeah, for a little while, another week and change, and then I better get myself back home.
Yeah, I've signed off for him to go back to Canada.
give him a permission slip.
Put in a good word for me, or a bad
No,
word.
actually, I send him to our federal government to see if they can get him back home.
All right, we will talk to him again. Thank you, gentlemen. I greatly appreciate it today.
Thank you very much.
Larry, Spider-Man, McBride, and Vantine Nitro-Sports. Their website, social media footprint, they're everywhere. Make sure you follow them and support them because they do so much for the sport.
LarryMcBride.com. Come on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. How y'all doing? I appreciate y'all sitting in with me as I had a discussion with Larry McBride and Greg Pollard. Larry Spider-Man McBride and Greg is from Vantine Nitro-Sports. It's a great conversation. It's going to be one of many to come. They've agreed to come back and do more with me. We've had to limit our content because these two gentlemen know so much and have experienced so much that I could sit with them all day long. So I look forward to sitting down with them again as the season unfolds. Make sure you reach out to me and let me know what you would like me to include in future conversations. Make sure the questions are relevant. Make sure it's not something that is obviously privileged material or privileged content that they're not sharing, like how much does your program cost and all this other stuff. And then I'll be sure to include those in future conversations. I will get more into the technical aspects of things. This is more to get people used to Greg, get people used to Larry. Many of y'all already know them. Some of the newer generation know of them, but may not know them. So this is to like an intro for them. And then we'll get more advanced as the conversations go on. And then we can come back and share these podcasts long after I'm not here anymore. Y'all still be able to share them. So many more are coming. So this one's going to come on Tuesday. We have another one coming out Thursday, and it's a special edition from Darlington Dragway. Just this last weekend, and it's going to include Jim Martin, Janet Thornley, and Sam White, the one and only Sam White. You're going to get 3 in one day. So now, depending on how long my interviews last will depend on how big those clusters are. I don't put a limit on what our guests talk about. We just talk. And so if we have shorter segments because they're busy trying to get to the races, because most of these are done at races, we'll keep it short, talk to them a little bit, and then we'll group them together so you get to hear 2, 3, even 4 people at a time. Appreciate y'all's support, and I appreciate y'all tuning in. And once again, I would like to thank Schnitz Racing and DragBike.com for their support and getting me to the races and supporting all of you. Schnitz Racing is supporting classes up and down the field, SDBA, XDA. I mean, they're helping everywhere. Plus, they've got the parts and supplies you need for your performance, and they'll put you in a winner's circle. SchnitzRacing.com. Make sure you get from them and support them. They're supporting us. DragBike.com. One of the leaders in news source for motorcycle drag racing. Make sure you support them. They're on all social media platforms. They are not hard to find. Schnitz Racing, dragbike.com. Thank you all for your support in 2021. I thank them two fantastic companies for their support in 2021. And I'm out of here, but I'm not going to be gone for long. I'll be back. Thank you so much for keeping up.